Here's Johnny.
I like it. Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Veil with Conscious Evolution and Bonesy.
Boulder.
And here's Johnny.
Here he
I
is.
love. I
Here's
started.
Johnny.
I started recording as soon as you said that. That's perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna change our introduction to "Here's Johnny."
Here's Johnny. Did you ever see The Shining?
Oh
Where
yeah. Oh yeah.
comes to the door. Here's Johnny. Good stuff. Good stuff.
That movie creeped me out when I was a kid. I think I saw
Oh, I
it
bet.
when I was
Yeah.
like 5 years old. And like, yeah, I saw a lot of
Yeah.
movies when I was like 5 or 6 years old that no child should witness
Right. Yeah.
during
Me
childhood.
too. Me too.
Anyways, so we're going to talk a little bit about entity attachments because I just had an interesting experience and a realization about like what was happening to me in that whole experience. And I think all of us are experiencing that in one way, shape, or form, whether it's like the negative thought form, triggering different thoughts, or if it's, like an addiction. Like it could be a multitude of things, and I think all of them have some kind of thought form that is feeding on that, because anything that's
Right.
not like light is not light and love and in alignment with our true selves. It's kind of a
Well,
negative thing.
not to, not to interrupt you, but the girl Curious, she put an interesting, I think it was yesterday maybe, but
Okay.
she had a
Thank
pretty good video about entity attachments, and her take on this is that when you still have trauma that you haven't worked through, or some kind of issues deep seated, your shadow work that you haven't worked all the way through yet, and you still have this lower frequency, this lower vibrational thing in you, these entities, that's what they attach to. They feast off of that. That's why it's so important to do the shadow work, and it's so important to go into the nooks and crannies, things that you haven't been willing to go, get your hands dirty with, or things that you've been just in denial about, because we're all in denial about things. I mean, and me and Kim had this conversation this morning, and I was telling her that, because when me and my sister get into fights, there's some things that she'll say about me that I'm like, bitch, you're crazy. You know what I mean? You're crazy. But over the course of time and going through this process I'm going through, I've had to get really real with myself. And through meditation and shadow work and things, I found that some of the things that she said, there's some truth to them. Regardless, I mean, some of it's old, and it's my old energy and my old ways, but it's really who I was. And it's the things I have to admit, that's how I have been. So my point is that, like Curious said, these entities, they're looking for cracks in your armor. They're looking for those weak points. They see, and I had said, I believe I commented on your video, I said something about the higher frequency I get, it seems like the more work it takes to stay in that high frequency. And it is. I mean, if you don't meditate, or if you're not, keeping on your game, you can slip, and you
Oh
can
yeah.
start back down into the 3D shit, get muddy all over again.
And,
And
and
go
I
ahead.
just I just recently thought I was actually talking to Jessica. She has a channel called It's About Divine Time, and she talks a lot about entity attachments, and she's real big on doing cleanses and things for that. But I talked to her about the entity attachment, and like the first sentence she said, she's like, "Oh yeah, you're a light worker. They're gonna come after your light. Like they want your light, because it's like you're shining more than the average, unawakened
Right, you stand out.
right. So they're like, yeah, like show me that crack, and they're gonna be all over it. They're waiting on it. And like I said in my video yesterday, Aluna Ash shared something, and it kind of creeped me out at the time because I wasn't ready for that, and I hadn't really thought about this. What's kind of pushed me into thinking and looking into it a little more. Um, Obviously not enough because I didn't recognize it when it happened to me, but that's the experience I needed. Anyways, she said that there's like our field is so crowded with beings right now, whether it be benevolent beings that are here guiding us, helping us in our process, and working with us through the ascension, or there's these lower vibrational thought forms. And what she said, there's like literally thousands of them in the corner of your room. Like, so just
Yeah.
imagine your room's lined with thousands of thought forms, and they're just waiting for you to slip up. So it's
Right.
like you can have the thought and you can entertain it. If you bring it up and you just observe it at a neutral place and let it go by, it's like it's just coming out. Like that's what needs to happen. It's going to come out, and you're going to transmute that. But if that thought comes up and you start entertaining it, and then you start speaking it, especially if you start speaking it, because then you're creating it, you're launching that rocket of manifestation, and you're gonna
Right.
get
Give it
that back.
energy.
The universe is going to honor what you want, because what you want to experience, you speak that out, and the universe
Right.
will show that to you in abundance. So everyone has abundance too. Like it's either going to be, in abundance of like what you want, or what you think you don't want, but you're actually manifesting it. So on a subconscious level, you actually do want it. I forgot where I was going with that now, but yeah, that's the thought forms. And Curious had an interesting perspective on it too, that they were just basically our thoughts, which I
Yeah.
said this in my video with Case, so Everyday Masters, that we create these negative entities, and they're
Yeah.
there trying to feed on us. So I was wondering today when she said like they need to feed on our energy, or else they die, but that doesn't make sense to me, because if they're energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So
Right.
like, is
They
it
move
that
on.
if it doesn't feed on our energy, then does it just
They're
go
just gonna.
back to
It
a
just
light?
moves on. I think it moves on.
So they probably no longer experience the dark, or they just stay in that energy. I think I mean, obviously they're choosing to be in that energy. They
Yeah.
can
I
choose to
think.
not be in that energy anymore. I would imagine. I don't know.
Well, something interesting you just said about the way you think about it. That's why you have to have these thoughts through meditation, because you remove yourself from the situation and you can look at it from a different perspective, from an objective, or I get, just a different view, removed, without the emotion and without the just being involved. You can actually remove yourself from it and kind of think, why am I blocked here? Why is this thought keep reoccurring? Or why does this energy keep re-happening to me? Why does it keep coming back up? What am I doing? And meditation seems to be the safe place, where you can, I don't know, kind of be a remote viewer, just kind of get outside of it, not in it. You're not in the dirt. You're kind of outside of it. You know what I'm saying? And don't say it no more. No more. You know what I'm saying? But so I think it's really important to get that outside perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And with meditation is like you're kind of like going to a different dimension, you know what I mean? Or a different reality.
Right.
A lot of it, and I started Feel Good. I watched a video of Feel Good recently, and he was saying when you go into meditation that you're stepping in. Like if you go into meditation to heal these wounds that you have, or whatever it may be, like if you have trauma with your parents from way back, and you go into meditation to try and transmute that. Like Curious gave an example of this today too, talking about like your mother coming in and screaming at you to clean your room. And if you go back in your meditation and change that, as she comes in and is like really sits down, like, I'm whatever, mother, I work real hard to do this and this, and like, you'd really be helping me out if you cleaned your room, instead of like clean your room, because
Yeah.
that's how I was raised. I was screamed at for everything.
Oh
Everything
my
was
God.
like fucking jumping down your throat for it. It was like,
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah.
terrible. It's a terrible way. And before I became aware of these, I felt like I was catching myself just screaming at my kids for no reason, and they were like 2 or 3 years old. Like, they don't know better. Like, why was I getting angry? And that was showing me a lot about myself, and like the patience that I didn't have, and like the anger and control issues that I have, or had.
Well,
Still
the
learning
worst,
to
the
control.
worst part is you're just passing that on. You're just handing
Exactly.
down, it's like a watch that grandpa gave to dad and dad gave it to you. And now you're giving it to your kids. You're just passing that same shit down, and it's
Hmm.
not going to stop until somebody stops it.
Yeah.
I remember in therapy here about I don't know, 20 years ago. I talk about when I went to prison and stuff, but I got down. I had went through some, alcohol and drug therapy, real intense stuff, where we really got into the meat and potatoes of everything. And, violence, like whooping your kids and shit, that's a learned behavior. Anger is normal. Anger is very normal. But abuse is learned. Somebody had to abuse you, and now you pass that down. You think, that smacking your kid upside the head, that's the way it is. Hell, I got smacked up. Then you tell them, you should have seen what I got when I was a kid. That's not even half of what I got. But that's not how you do it. That's not how it's supposed to be. And I never knew that. I never knew that until I learned that, So it's this whole process, everything we're doing, it's just we just evolve, and you learn how these things work, and you learn how your thoughts and your words not only affect you and your future, but those around you, especially your offspring. You're the captain of their ship right now, and you're feeding their subconscious. And the reason that we're having such a hard time getting, we get through some shadows, and we find there's darker shadows. There's shadows beyond those shadows, and shadows of the shadows.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, how deep does this shit go, and how damaged am I? So, you have to realize you're doing the same thing to another little human being. Their little subconscious is being programmed. Every word you say, everything you do. If you get shitty at that guy, slamming on his brakes in front of you, if you're scared of a spider, or, you start pounding God's going to burn you in hell, or whatever things you pound, fears and these anger issues and these things you instill, now they're going to have to clean their.
Yeah. And it's like, I think it's like basically the kids, they don't have a subconscious mind or conscious. It's all the same to them because their subconscious is just recording up until like the age of 7. So they're literally recording everything that's going to shape their entire life.
Right.
So, I had my kids past couple weekends, and one of them, I have twins, 4-year-old twin boys, identical twins, and one of them, he's upset at the whole separation and thing, and he understandably, but what he started doing before I even left, he started though, when he didn't get his way, he would get angry, and he would say the craziest
That sound familiar?
like, yeah. Well, what he would do is with me, I don't know if he does it with his mother or not, but with me, he says, I don't love you. I don't love you. I don't love God, and God is not this, or I don't like the angels, or like he's just going on things that he knows that I like, and he's saying that he hates them.
Oh, yeah.
And just going through all that, and that he hates me. He's like, I don't love you. I hate you. I'm like, that's cool.
I hate to say it. I don't want to. I hate to say this, but I know, you've told me a little bit about your ex and your mom and stuff, and I know where that's coming from. He's repeating them behaviors.
Yeah, those are learned behaviors.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I really don't think he did it.
I mean, she's probably been on the phone with you before, screaming at you, "I hate you." You know what I mean? And so they've heard that. So that's what they.
Well, so my mother just screams, like that's her reaction to things. Like she just screams. So that's why I can't be around her like that. Her mom voice with my kids like just sends that chill down my spine. Like I can't.
Oh, it's like a million needles, ain't it?
Yeah, it's like nails on the chalkboard. 3 million needles stabbing you in the spine, and it's like,
I know, dude.
Just poking you in your eyeball, like.
Oh, I know.
Anyway, so when the boy was saying this stuff, we were in the car this time, and I started thinking about this. You're programmed up until you're 7 years old, and I was like, so he's being programmed, so he really doesn't even know what anger is really, like, other than when he throws a fit when he doesn't get his toy. He knows that when he does that, he gets his way. That's why he does it. He didn't just learn that. He probably saw his mother throwing a fit and getting her way, because that's how she treats with her parents still, and she's grown. Um,
Right.
so that's what I started seeing. I'm like, so that's interesting. It's just it's learned, and they're repeating that, and they're using that. So I was like, he's trying to dig in on me to get what he wants, and I forget. I think it was to go back to the playground or something. Um,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's cool, man. I was like, I got love and compassion in my heart, man. You can't, nothing you say is gonna hurt me, so you can keep on going. And I just
Yeah.
like started singing that, and I was like, I forget what I was saying. Something was like, I'm not my feelings or emotions, something like that. I can't remember. It was clever when I was doing it, but I was like, I'm not that, and I have love and compassionate, and I'm a compassionate person, and I love you still, even though you're saying these cruel things to me. And he just stopped. He was still like pouting and angry, and he was pretending to be asleep when he got out of the car. He's like, like in the angry face, but
Yeah.
that completely.
Well, he's seen that he didn't. He
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah, he didn't control you. So now what? What's he gonna do now? Because that's the only reason he did it. He's not feeling that. He's
Exactly.
just trying to push your buttons, and like you said, kids learned how to control adults quick. I mean,
Yes.
they learn how to do it. Like my
Right away.
granddaughter, she's 6 months old. When she wants on that boob, she starts crying and fussing, and it was so funny. They was just here yesterday, and she was being so good, and her mommy said something about her being hungry, and I had mentioned the word. She's only 6 months old, and I said something about being hungry. She was smiling, happy. I said, "Are you getting hungry?" As soon as she heard that word, she started fussing and crying and looking for mommy. She was ready to eat, but she started doing that to get her, saying, "Yeah, I'm hungry." You know what I mean? You should have never said that.
Yeah.
So they start early.
Excuse me. Absolutely. Yeah. They know how to play you right away.
Right.
It's like the kids are way more conscious than we give them credit for a lot of times.
Wait till you're a grandpa.
Oh
Woo!
boy.
They play a fiddle. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like an orchestra. They're like, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun.
Oh yeah. I see it with my kids
Short
and their grandparents. They absolutely got them wrapped around their fingers.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's cool.
Yeah.
Our kids have like 3 or 4 sets of grandparents too, so it's pretty like they're spoiled. They're spoiled.
Yeah. Kids these days are spoiled, man. They really are.
Yeah.
But
That's not a
back
bad
to the
thing.
entities.
Yeah. Sorry, I was a little sidetracked, but so with I felt like sharing that story. I think that it was funny and it could be helpful for somebody and have
Right. Yes.
a situation. Um, you screaming at your kids just doesn't do anything. It really doesn't.
It just trains them to scream, and they're going to scream at you. They'll scream at you someday.
Yeah. So, what we're talking about, thought forms, lower vibrational thought forms and entity attachment. So you were telling me something before we started recording about what you thought or maybe a experience you were having or something. I can't really remember.
I feel like, I was telling you that, well, Ed had told me about a video, the QHHT sessions we got to talking about because his wife does QHHT. And, I'm interested in that. I'm really curious, And so he sent me this video, just a random video. It was number 206, and I can't remember the lady, but it's one of the famous ladies, not the Dolores Claiborne, but or whatever her name, Cannon. Is her name?
Dolores Cannon.
Yeah, not her. It's one of these newer women, but she's pretty famous because she has like a lot of followers and a lot of views and a lot of videos, and she's good. She's real good. But anyway, she done this guy, and like I say, he was either in radio or he has a YouTube channel. He has something where he has to speak, but he was getting to where, he couldn't get his views across and he couldn't speak, he couldn't like articulate his thoughts the way he used to. And come to find out that he had an attachment. It was actually on his throat chakra, and they removed it. But that video got to me, sort of, because I've known, and up until then, that's what made it really clear. I knew something was happening with me. It's like I feel like something like either some kind of some kind of because I had felt, and I'm still can't clear my voice. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I usually don't have this. I mean, I'm kind of raspy, but I've been real raspy. I mean, it's like, you know, where you can't get that like thing out of your throat or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like never ending. And then like when I have ideas, there's this fog. There's this like, it's hard to describe, but I'm like very eclectic about or not eclectic, but focused. You know, when I get on something, I get really focused and I dial in on it. And I really, you know, scope it. And I've sort of have just felt like, you know, I haven't felt that the drive. I haven't had the focus, you know, no
Passion.
motivation, all these kind of things that just aren't me, you know, and it's, I don't know. So I really feel that's what's going on with me. So after watching these videos, and especially the curious one, I'm like, that's probably what it is, because I am going, I've been hearing people talk about shadow work, and I've never really like learned about it, or, you know, tried to figure out what it is and if I should be doing it. I just kind of let it kind of just swipe to the next thing. And now I'm focusing on it. Now it's like, and soon as I started focusing on it, I meditated on this morning after watching that video. It felt so right. It felt like, you know how that light bulb goes off, and you know, this is what I am needing to do. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. What great timing. So yeah, it's some things that I need to delve into. So I think and what's coming up is some of my childhood trauma stuff that I thought I've dealt with. And I don't think I've worked my way through it all the way. I think I've still got a few more things to go with.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going to go with that. It's the traumas from childhood is that deep seated issues, you know, like with my mother, I have gone through, and I thought I dealt with it numerous times. I thought I was good each time. I thought I was good, but it's such a long time that you spent being programmed into that energy that you heal aspects at a time. So when you get through that aspect, you clear it out and you're good. And then another thought is triggered, and you figure out that, okay, well, this is still making me feel some kind of way. So what is this here to teach me? You know, where you get that anxiety, you get that fear. Okay, you can step back and be like, okay, that's interesting. So why am I feeling this way? What is this? Why is this here? Because it's here to show you something. That's like the only reason it's here now. It's here to teach you, and it needs to be, I say needs to be a lot, but I want you to understand that you have free will. You can do whatever you want. But in my opinion, I think it's coming up because it needs to be cleared in order to continue on this ascension path, you know.
Right.
And that's what it was. Like when I was in Long Beach, that's what happened. I went to this agape like worship center, which is, you know, people preaching about consciousness and this new energy, and how the truth of it as I see it is. And then it really resonates with me. But it was there, and I was there on Mother's Day, and that just triggered so many emotions that I thought were good. But there's a whole nother aspect I hadn't dealt with, and I've healed from that, but I still know that there's a whole nother aspect. So that's what I
think.
Go ahead.
I think when it's your mother, I think there's going to be layer after layer after layer after layer. I think it starts in the womb with her issues. I think her DNA, your DNA, I think that you're carrying her baggage as soon as you're born.
Yep.
So, you know,
it's science now. Like that's proven that you that's imprinted. So when you're in the womb, if your mother gets scared and reacts, that fear is imprinted onto your DNA right there.
Right. And then the conditions that you're born into. So, you know, you're not just going to sit there and forgive mom and it's over. You're going to have to, it's taken so long, so many layers, and maybe even 2 lifetimes, hers and yours, that you're dealing with, and you're peeling off this layer, and then you find another layer. So this shadow work and going into these deep, dark corners where, like you said, all these thoughts are thousands of manifesting thoughts that are alive and living and energy just waiting to come in and plant themselves back into your head. You know, it's a process. This is not like we've always said, this is not for the faint of heart. You know, you awaken and you get on this higher frequency, but you find out there's things, you know, to maintain this. It's like if you have a badass car, somebody gives you a badass sports car, you're not just going to go throw regular gas in and go drive it. You know, you have to, there's things you got to do. You know, you got to keep the jets clean. You got to keep, you know, you got to keep that thing functioning in a more high tech, and the faster it is, the better, you know, the high performance it is, the more work it literally takes to keep it running at a high performance. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things, you know, and I use the analogy in one of my videos, like we're just this clunky ass truck that never dies. Well, now we've become this, you know, this race car, and everything's different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's maintenance. There's maintenance that has to be done, and you know, attention to detail and fine tuning. And
Yes.
you know, the faster that you get, and the more efficient that you are, the more fine tuning that you have to get involved in. I mean, it's you know, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, and yeah, it's like being a NASCAR. You know, you got to have constant maintenance on those things when you're running the track wide open, 200 miles an hour for all day long. You know, you gotta. There's a lot of maintenance involved with that, and attention to detail to me is like the most important aspect of this. Not just with like your thoughts. Absolutely, you got to pay attention to your thoughts, but I mean everything in your life, because if you have like hyper focused attention to detail to where like I'm very observant, and I if I put thought into it, like if I scan my room, I could scan it once quickly and tell you just about where every single thing is without looking, because I've trained my mind to do that. You know, I can look in and see what's there, and usually I can pick up that same object. So like if I scan the room and look, and there's a roll of duct tape on the bookshelf in the corner, and then you take that roll of duct tape out, I can scan it again and usually notice that that's what's missing, that wasn't
Right.
that was there or wasn't there before. That I've trained my mind to do that, and that was out of like I was tired of forgetting shit all the time. I was forgetful.
Yeah.
It's probably because I smoked a lot of weed back in the day, but that was no
Yeah.
excuse in my opinion. So I was really like, I'd put my lighter down and I'd come back and it was always gone. You know, I could never find my lighter, always gone. So that's where it started. Funny enough, that and then later I found out it was one of my buddies kept stealing my fucking lighter. And then I found out,
No,
you know, then I paid even more attention because I could see him swipe it and put it in his pocket. I'm like, I know you some bitch.
yeah, yeah. I'm paying
But
attention now.
yeah, but that translated into everything else too. You know, I really pay attention. Like I don't lose my keys. I don't misplace my lighters. You know, just little things like that generally happen in my reality. And they do.
And with this new lifestyle, with this awakening, you know, it's like you were saying, the attention to details at the utmost of importance. It's because you know you know, as you become, imagine yourself, you know, you were this thick clunky piece of glass, now you're crystal. You know, you can break. I mean, you can get smudged so easy, or clouded or fogged, or nicked, or just anything. In other words, it's easier to fall, or it seems like you might fall farther, or it's just easier to slip back into the 3D, into that lower density, you know, energy, and it's real, and you're comfortable there anyway. So, you know, you're automatically pulled towards it because that's where you've been. And now you're trying to maintain this, and just like you were saying, one of your videos here, 2 or 3 videos back, that little bit of doubt, if you just open that door, boy, I mean, there's like 10 dudes waiting of doubt coming. They've been sitting there waiting on you just to crack that door a little bit, and they push their way in. Now you're just like overwhelmed, and boy, if you can't get rid of it and fight it, you know, and get it out there quick, it's gonna eat on you for a couple of days, and you got to sit there and meditate your ass off. And you know,
dude, meditating did not even help me with my last one. Like the first time when I was in Long Beach and I let in that little bit of doubt, and that manifested into extreme doubt and fear. And that was of myself. I was doubting myself and like the videos I made and what I had said in the videos. And that doesn't generally happen to me.
Right.
And then I fudged up the whole editing process. I did it, and I meant to cut out this whole portion, this whole speech, and I left it in and posted it anyway. And then I redid it and edited it out, but I still missed like so many things. And I was like, you know what? This isn't, no, I just took it all down. Luckily, I think like only 50 people saw the video. So I was like, cool. Okay, we're going to trash that. It's like,
Right.
it's going to trash.
Right.
But I didn't even like go back through and give it another chance, because listening to it, and even if I'd edited it, in my opinion, like I felt like it was a lot of ego that I was talking. Like I was really talking
Plus,
from
you're giving
my
it
ego.
so much energy. Yeah, then you're giving it all that energy.
Yeah, and
Time
just
to nip it in the bud,
yep,
chuck it.
and move on. And
Yes. All right.
the world's still spinning, so we're good. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean that's what it was. And that one on my way home, that plane ride, it was like a 6 hour or 5 hour plane ride. And I meditated and I slept, because it was a late flight. So I slept most of the way, but all the way up until falling asleep. And then after I woke up, and that whole morning when I landed in Baltimore, I, my brother's car broke down, so he had to get back to the house to pick up my car to come pick me up from the airport. And we're like an hour away from the airport. So I was there for like 3 or 4 hours waiting for him to pick me up. So I sat right out front and meditated, like meditation after meditation after meditation, just reflecting on these things, on my thoughts, and how I let those thoughts in, and how it started, and how it's manifested into this thing. And it was also a combination of what, other people in my reality had said that had kind of triggered me, because I thought they thought one way, and found out that they were really thinking a different way. But like then that's when I started getting into the whole reflection thing. Like really, they're just reflecting the energy I'm putting out, and I wasn't putting out good energy. So that kind of came back to me as the same, it was matching my vibration essentially. So I was putting out combative energy, and I was getting combative energy back. And it took, I think it was like a good 12 hours of sitting with those emotions and meditating on it, and getting some sleep. I slept like that, 5 hours on the plane, and I was able to I had like an aha moment after a while, and realized why it all happened. But I never, it still wasn't like, I didn't think of it as an entity attachment. I just thought that I let the fear and doubt in. And like I knew what it was. I knew it was the thought. I let the thought in, and I knew like the thoughts weren't mine, because I'm not my thoughts, feelings, or emotions. So that helps me shift out of things all the time. I know I'm not my thoughts, feelings, emotions, or beliefs. Like that is not me. So
That was before the reconnection, right?
no, this was like a month ago.
Okay.
When I went to Long Beach, the second
Because
time.
I've noticed since my reconnection, because things that would get me, it always takes me it would take me, used to take me a couple days. It'd fester. I would just like, like a pimple or something, it would just turn into this thing that needed to be popped, But since the reconnection, I like within hours or even minutes, I'll recognize and be able to fix or at least address, just like the way I view things. Like when things go down, they still hit me like they used to, and I still kind of almost react the way I used to, but then I get a grip faster. And within, like I say, minutes at the longest hours, I know, that, I'm sorted it out, and I know that either it's something I can't do anything about, it's something that I do not need to put my energy on, or I know that it's supposed to be this way, or at least that's the way I view it now, because I really believe that everything that does happen is just an avenue or an opportunity for something else to happen. And I always believe that whatever the something else is, if this is a bad thing, the something else is a good thing. I always have that in my mind, that whatever goes down it's going to better. There's going to be something better come from it. It's going to better me. It's going to, help me in my growth, or it's going to put me in touch with or put me on the road to where I need to be for something good to happen. So that perspective has really been helpful in my world. So my existence right now, because there's a lot of things that there's a lot of negativity, man. That's from everywhere. So you have to really start looking at things in a positive way. You have to understand that, you could either be, oh, woe was me, and all this shit happens. Mary, you could be like, hey, I'm glad this happened. Now, I can move on. I can get away from this situation and I can move on to this, because I needed something to happen. And as bad as it feels, and as much as I'm going to miss that, or, the situation, I hate it the way it went down, or I dislike the way it went down. It's brought me here, and here I am. Look, I'm free and clear of that now, and it's behind me. Finally, behind me. I've been dragging this thing around for 5 years.
Yeah, that's like Case said this in one of his last videos, that a lot of these things that are happening that in the moment, feel like a storm, but later down the road, when you look back and reflect on it, you see it for the blessing that it was.
Right.
That happened, and that was the catalyst for you to change, or for you to get out of the situation. Like with me, it was multiple storms that just kept occurring, and it was when I got to a point where I was no longer willing to participate in that drama, in that storm. And I knew all along what it was telling me. I just was too damn stubborn to walk away from it, or didn't have the nerve. But I think that that was my lesson, to learn how to walk away. Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't like I was, going to stay at a buddy's house. Like I moved, away from my kids, and not next door either. I'm a good distance away, so it was a tough thing for me to do. And basically, my life.
I think we all get. I think we all. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no.
I was just going to say that I think that we all fear the unknown. We all, the reason we don't make that change, the reason that, because we don't, and we're so we're a bunch of thumb suckers, man. We need that security. We need our banky, we need our pacifier and suck our thumb. We need to be comfortable, and secure. We don't want to go into the dark, we don't want to go into the unknown. We don't want to be like, cutting all this free and like, oh shit, what am I gonna do now? God, and so
thumb suckers.
We'll just stay in any kind of a shitty situation, and we'll just sit there and eat it up and live in it and waller in it, because at least we know what's going to happen tomorrow. At least we know what's going to happen the next day. We can predict it. And so it's like sucking your thumb and laying with your banky, I know what's going to happen. Well, you don't know that it's not going to be great. You don't know that it's not going to be the best thing that ever happened to you, because you won't let go of this to go see. And you got to take that chance. You got to take that leap, And you've cut a lot of shit loose. You're taking that chance. You're and you're safe. I mean, still look all right to me. I think better than you ever have. You look more happier.
Yeah.
When you first started making these videos, you weren't as happy. You were on that grind, making that hour and 20-minute commute or whatever it was.
Yeah.
You were driving like an hour a day, weren't you?
Yeah, 120 miles a day, round trip, for a slightly above minimum wage job, basically, is what it ended up being. So yeah, and I continued doing that just for the familiarity of it, for the fear of not getting a paycheck anymore and how that would affect my life. But like, I finally got to the point where I fully trust in the universe, and I have all the faith in the world that I will succeed in what, if I just follow my heart, if I live my passions and like I got everything I need within me already, and it's just a matter of laying that out in such a way then to allow it to support me, and that's what I'm working on.
Right.
And it's like, there was a point, I feel like it was a week ago maybe, that I got something in the mail that really threw me back into like the three dimension, that lack consciousness, that low consciousness, that worry and like fear, not knowing where the next paycheck's going to come from. Like I that hit me hard after not having, a job for like 2 weeks, and realizing like, okay, so now where's the money going to come from? And and
Right.
all these bills are piling up. I owe thousands and thousands of dollars right now. That's like, dude, now. And I'm like, I was freaking out. And then it took it. That one was rough for me, because I grew up in that. I grew up in, or living in a paycheck to paycheck. Even when we had money, we were still like, multiple credit cards all maxed out. Debt as high as you could pile it, and my mom at one point was making $100,000 a year, and we were still like living in a lack consciousness.
Right.
And I have to set it, and I don't usually do that. So that's that, and I've looked into that a lot too, going into that, and I feel like that's probably an entity attachment too. There's feel of lack. I don't know. I think the entity attachments are. I mean, they say entity attachments, but really they're just thought forms. And the way Luna Ash describes them is they're like a higher dimensional being, or maybe lower dimensional, whatever. It's in a different vibration that we don't perceive it. That's like literally like floating above your head, and or anywhere from like your waist to like 30 feet above your head in your etheric field. That they're just tapping into your mind and just triggering thoughts like, you're not good enough, you're not whole, you're lacking, you don't love yourself, God's not inside of you, you're not a creator being, you're not this isn't real, this isn't right. It's like you awaken to your truth, and all these things feel so good, and then when you have time to sit down and like think about it, and you let that doubt start, it just, it'll snowball out of effect really quickly. And
Yeah.
I think that's a lot to do with it, because anything that makes you feel less whole, it doesn't allow you to achieve that balance, that alignment with yourself, is how they're going to feed on your energy.
Right. Right. Yeah, and they're looking for the cracks. Like I said, they're looking for the cracks in the armor to feed off of. And to me, it's
Oh, sorry.
the main about all that is really it's just blockages. To me, that's the main or the outcome or the byproduct mostly these days anyway. For me, is it really stops or slows down the flow. And I'm in this flow state now. I'm in this like where I really need, to be optimum. I really need to, the flow's got to be right, and I got to be on it, and I've got to be, really focused on it. I really have to just keep away the stuff that stops me from flowing or from, I don't know, just being at optimum vibration, being at the higher frequency, because it doesn't take much, because you're so conditioned to be in fear. You're so conditioned to have doubt. You're so conditioned to be insecure that it's such a comfortable old hat. It's such a comfortable old shoe. I mean, you just slide right back into it and you're like, oh, wow, this is comfortable. And you have to, hang on, dude. We don't do that no more. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you feel comfortable once it happens. You're like, I'm used to this, but you don't like it anymore. But you know what it is. I mean, it's, well, you know exactly what it is.
That's yeah. I'm glad you related that way, because that's like exactly what I was just saying about leaving my situation. Because it was no longer serving me. It was actually like really damaging my soul, if you will. But it was really toxic for me to stay in that situation. So it's the same thing you're just talking about. So when you start, questioning yourself or doubting yourself or critiquing yourself to such a level that it prohibits you from producing, from actually like posting a video or going to an event or doing this, that, or the third. It's the same thing. It's, you're going back into that matrix, to that old energy. And that's probably an empty attachment too. Anything that's doubt. It's like, I feel like priority number one at this point is to work on you, for not just you, but me to work on me, you to work on you, everybody watching to work on yourselves. The most important thing is to love yourself and be whole, and whatever that means for you, however you see that, just to know that you're enough just the way you are. You don't listen to people. People are putting you down if they're trying to tell you that you're not good enough, or that you can't do this, or you won't succeed, or that blah. Shut up.
Right.
Quit talking all that shit. It's just because your limited box of beliefs can't perceive that happening doesn't mean that I can't do it. So don't project your limited beliefs onto me. Keep that shit to yourself, and I'll just keep it moving. And I feel like that's a lot of what I was dealing with the family issues, and everybody telling me their opinions of how I should live my life. They're just projecting their beliefs onto me, and my beliefs were changing at a rapid pace. So really, I didn't have many beliefs. I never really stood for anything, and then I found all this, and it was like, now I know why I really never got into all that, because it didn't resonate with me. I couldn't buy into the religion and whatever else was there. None of it felt right. Like,
yeah, your higher self actually allowed you, or kept you from buying into that, to that system, to that program.
yeah, I think so. It was like, as soon as I learned all this, and I realized then, like, by the time I got into any kind of religion or Bible study, I was 33 years old, which is a cool synchronicity there. But and because I had never really studied it on my own, I'd heard stories like from the church and stuff, and they're usually like embellished, or they were like the children's version of the story, which I'm not going there. But by the time I picked the Bible up and started reading it for myself, at first I was in it because I wanted to know about the fear. Like, that's what motivated me to get a Bible in my hands.
Probably went straight to Revelation.
I did. That was the first thing I read, was Revelation 12. And then
it was downhill from there.
And then,
what's the rest of this shit about love?
Yeah. And then like a month later, I found this YouTuber, Global Witness, who my father just thinks is the most wonderful person in the world. I'm being extremely sarcastic, but Global Witness is teaching like the real words of the Bible, of the scriptures, and like he has a channel called Red Letter Disciples, where him and his girlfriend or whatever, they read the red letters of the Bible, so what Jesus said, and then they talk about it, because everything in the Jesus spoke in parables, so it's always it's a parable, it's a metaphor, it's something that has a meaning of an esoteric value, and it has a meaning of how you should live your life, or that God is inside of you. And it's like he breaks it down in such a way that it made such sense to me. And then I started reading the Bible on my own. Matter of fact, somebody left a comment on my entity attachment video today talking about how certain people in I think it was a Christian community, or people on YouTube, and these paranormal investigators were like rebelling from the light worker. So what they're doing now, and what I think is part of their agenda, is to create the fear. So they want to take the light and tell people that that's really the darkness, to stay away from it. And then they're going to sell the darkness as being the light, because that's what it does. They're going to convolute it or shift it so where they really don't have to do anything other than to convince you that you having a communication with your higher self is a demonic entity that you're channeling, and that's going to send you straight to hell, fire, and brimstone. And then people are like, no, don't do that.
Right.
And
yeah.
you know, and that's what's happening right now. And I think this person was like really frustrated about it and was sharing, and I shared my viewpoint of it, because that's exactly what's happening. And matter of fact, Global Witness said that that was going to happen a while back. So it's like it's all coming together now. It's really quite interesting to watch. But you know, my goal of all of it is just to be the observer. So you see all this stuff happening, and I spend so much time and energy into trying to affect change. You know, at one point I wanted to like meld the Christian community and the light worker community together and have them on the same page. But I soon after realized the
That'll never happen.
enormity of that task was just beyond me and my abilities at this present time. Like I would need, I wouldn't even know what you need. Like Global Witness, that's his mission, that's his journey, that's his path in this life, is to do that and to create
Yeah.
the religion of this new world.
That's a massive giant to go up against.
Yeah,
And they play dirty. They're
exactly.
dirty.
I don't want that. I don't want that drama. You know, I posted some of his videos, and you should see the comments I got. Like, I just shared his video, and people started attacking me. So
Yeah.
I immediately
It's
that, and it was
yeah,
like, and that's when I found my own way.
and people are, yeah, and that, you know, and that's a lot of what that's what's repulsive, and that's what repels you from that is if you're just a little bit awake, you can see that this is not a place for, I mean, they operate like the mafia. I mean, these people want you dead. You know, if you go up against them, and it's blood. They want blood, you know, and
Yes.
it's, you know, that's a big monster. If you're ready to take on, you know, it's a David versus Goliath type thing. And there's going to be a time and a place for that. I'm down for it. But I know right now, you know, I'm like a boxer. I know when to throw, you know, and right now it's, you know, I'm not boxing that guy. I got to work my way up in the ranks, you know what I'm saying, before I come up against that. But
yeah, I feel like we need to work more on ourselves. That's more important. Like Global
yeah,
Witness, he's sovereign. He's spiritually sound. You know, nothing's gonna. No, he has no cracks in his armor. You know, he's fully surrendered to everything, and he is a like servant for the people. You know what I mean? Like that's how I see him. And
well, you have to know your enemy too. Like you have to read that Bible front and back and really be versed in what you're going to be up against, and you have to have an answer for everything they come at you with, because they're going to bring shit, and you have to be able to have a rebuttal for that. You have to be able to point them and say, "Hey, no. It does say that, but it also says this." And look at the books that they left out, and Thomas, and you know these other books where it says this. And so there's, you know, you have to, you're going to have a lot of armor. You're going to have a lot of weaponry to even think about taking that. Because really that all boils down to the Catholic Church, which is a big, ginormous, powerful, power.
Yeah.
And that's what they are. They are a power.
And yeah, I think you're exactly right. Like, and I know that's not my task. So as soon as I started like thinking maybe that was the way I was supposed to go, because I could see it the same way and how the story was and everything, as soon as I started getting into it, I realized like the amount of study I would need to do in the Bible to just have the be able to talk someone that's spent their entire life studying and preaching the Bible in the fear, guilt, and shame, to shift them out of it, because I think they feel and they know that it feels right when they hear the information and it scares them.
Right.
So they go back to their, you know, they put their defenses up and they just go even harder at it and throw it out. And it's so irrational. It doesn't make sense. You're not, you know. So once I saw the hypocrisy, the irrationalism, I don't even know if that's a word, but how irrational they were being in their responses when I talked to people about this, and I was showing them like plain as day proof. This is what Jesus said. He didn't want you to worship him. He wanted you to be like him.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly what I want.
That's so I quickly learned that wasn't my task and that wasn't my path. Thankfully, because that's I'm just not interested enough in that.
Right.
I think I'm really,
Happier things. We're looking for happier
yeah,
subjects,
yeah.
not religion.
Peace and love and unity. You know, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Yeah. So I'm much happier here, and I think I found my calling.
Right.
Callings. That's what I was just talking to you. I was like, I feel like there's multiple purposes that I'm here for, and I'm like, I feel like I just need to concentrate on one of them and really do it, and then do another one. I just want to do it all now. Like I
Yeah, I
want
was
to.
gonna say we got enough on our plate right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So the moral of the story is love yourself, and that'll build your armor. You know,
Right.
and then and then and then you're good to
And
go.
as far as these entities or these attachments or this blockage that you're having, I really do think that curious girl was on to something when she said that you know, you still have that, just because you're in this high frequency doesn't mean that deep down there's chinks in your armor, there's some things, there's shadow work, there's a few things that you need to still work on in order to, create the flow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's what I'm doing. That's what I feel like and I really feel like it has to do with my mom too. And some, that has to do with my dad. But I know it has to do with my childhood stuff. I know that there's still, because I went through a traumatic childhood. I mean, a very violent, very abusive, very traumatic, is just horrible, horrible situation. And
That's tough
I've
to.
done really good about stuffing and getting over it and kind of putting it behind me. And I've gotten to where, I've come into this awakening, and I've come into this new way of thinking, and my consciousness expanded, and I'm changing. But things that I've stuffed and things that I've gotten left behind me, they're still attached to me. They're still there, and I have to address them. I've got to face the monster in the room. I've got to do it. And so that's where I'm at in my evolution. That's where I've got to deal with this, because I've moved up these levels, and I know where I want to be, and I'm not there yet. I still want to, I want to be in that fifth dimension, or whatever they call it, that higher frequency. I want to be there. So I'm doing whatever it takes. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to address whatever I need to address.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, that's going within. And like we said earlier, there's layers of it, especially, from childhood, dude. I mean, what is that, 40, 50 years ago for you? Like, that's how long
Oh yeah.
that you've been building, stuffing and regressing, all that stuff. That's a long ass time. And to not even have known that, like, the damage, the baggage of that, the enormity of that, and how,
Right.
that you even would have to deal with that now. So, you're absolutely a super advanced soul, in my opinion, and you really challenged yourself in this lifetime to really transmute a lot of these issues. So just think, and I like it too, that I think that everything that I process in this lifetime, I won't have to do it in the next lifetime, in the next incarnation.
Yeah.
You're gonna wake
Thank
up,
you.
and Ion says this all the time. So, like, when you wake up, you're gonna wake up with like a full knowingness of where you leave at this point, and you won't have to do any of these lessons over again. So I feel like up until now, we were just doing like the same lessons over and over, and maybe in different varieties and situations and different genders or whatever, however we decided we wanted to live this life, this play that we're playing out. Which is going to be, I think, next week's show, by the way, guys. We're going to talk about that, and background people, and how you volunteered to come here, or the lessons you learned. Like, I'm really fascinated with that, but we're going to do some research so we can come at you with a little more informed. Yeah.
Show.
Yeah, there, show. I've been talking all day today. I'm starting to lose it.
There you
Yeah, I did the interview with Brian Divisions earlier today too. That was a good one. I
was it.
still got to upload that, and then yeah,
Was
man.
that just you and Africa show, or
Well, Africa couldn't make it this morning, so it was just Brian and I, which was pretty good. It was a little more, one-on-one, and our internet connections were good, so there wasn't any pauses this time or any breaks in the feed in the video. It flowed good.
good?
I
That
haven't
last
watched it.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
last one, man.
yeah. What that was
Right when he
crazy.
was, yeah, right when he was getting to the good stuff, it would start freezing. I was like, "Oh, what's he saying? What's he saying?"
I know. We're gonna have to do that again.
Yeah.
He's coming up to Maryland next month too, so maybe I could link up with him, and I want to do like
Where's he from?
he's from Maryland.
Oh, he is.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah.
where he's living now?
No, he lives in I think it's North Carolina now.
Does he? Oh, it's beautiful there.
Yeah, he's out in like the country, a lot of woods, and it sounds awesome. I want to go
Oh
down
yeah,
there.
he's over in Asheville, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's
Did you know
pretty.
he's a videographer, like a videography, like he does videography. He has a
Does he?
he has an Instagram channel on that. It's
So is that he's the one shooting his own videos then?
Yeah, well, he has his
He's
girlfriend
probably directing
shooting
them
them,
anyhow.
and he's directing and editing them. He's a one man show, like one stop. I can't think of the words right now. I'm just burnt out.
One man bands.
Yeah, exactly. And he does it all in his house there, and his girlfriend shoots the videos. And you know what? Watch the show. I'm not sharing anymore. You watch the show and
Okay.
then find
All
out.
right. Now, when we done that distance thing this morning, could you feel them frequencies pretty good?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I felt it start. When I started, it started.
Yeah. Oh, it was that's right. I hadn't talked to you. Mm.
Yeah, or do you even want to talk about it on here?
Yeah,
We
let's
can talk about it after the
actually,
show.
you know what? We'll go ahead and end it real quick, and then we'll talk about it. All
Right,
right, guys. Thanks again. Yeah, we've been right an hour too. Zabones.
You gotta do something
I gotta
stupid.
pay my eyes.
At least I didn't talk about no
my
buttholes.
eyes.
The no buttholes on.
No, right. Oh man, we made it through the whole show.
I
with
thought
a
you would edit
butthole
that
reference.
out. I
Couldn't.
was wondering. I was like, is he gonna edit that out? Then I seen it was on there. It's like, he didn't edit it out.
Yeah, I leave that shit on. That's the good stuff.
That's behind the veil, folks.
Yeah. Maybe not the veil you were thinking about, but it's definitely behind the veil.
The other veil.
And on that note, I will bid you adieu.
Yeah. Love you guys.
We love you. Be the change that you want to see in this world, and
Beautiful.
love yourself. You're beautiful.
You're beautiful.
Beautiful. We love you. I love you.
There's.
We love you. Bye bye.